Hello everyone and happy Pride Month. I know the world is quite scary at the moment and that's why I wanted this video to be a positive one. And so I wanted to focus on a list of LGBTQ+ movies that you can watch and really enjoy and hopefully be inspired by. And so without further ado, here are my top LGBTQ+ movies for Pride 2020. So my first entry on the list is actually cheating because it's two films, but we'll count it as one. And those films are James Whales's Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. These by themselves are absolutely great atmospheric movies, with the original 1931 Frankenstein being especially atmospheric and creepy. But Bride of Frankenstein is very atmospheric and creepy, but also just really fun and campy. I do think these films are better experienced as a pair than individually, though Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein do work extremely well. And I would especially recommend watching them with the knowledge in your head that James Whale was openly gay, something not only frowned upon in 1930s America, but also illegal, not just in America, but over the sea in the United Kingdom and in many parts of Europe. And it's extremely inspiring to remember that James Whale refused to back down from hiding his sexuality. It was something that he wasn't necessarily completely open with it. It was something that he refused to hide from his colleagues and friends. And so with that in mind, think about how hard it would have been for this man to get to this position and make these films. Honestly, very inspiring. An interesting companion piece is Gods and Monsters, a biopic about James Whales. That details specifically his life after he was forced to retire. Next up is Paris is Burning from 1990. If you want some documentary realness, then look no further than this film. This film explores the difficult life of the LGBTQ+ community in New York during the 80s as they fight against systemic oppression such as homophobia, racism, and institutionalized neglect that the LGBTQ+ community faced in the 80s, especially in the face of the AIDS crisis. As the film puts it, these people are trying to live in a rich white man's world, all the while being extravagantly open about who they are. Next up is The Watermelon Woman by Cheryl Dunn from 1996. This is an absolutely fascinating mockumentary. The film tackles the idea of a blurred and obscured history. Like the content that it discusses within itself, the film absolutely and wonderfully blurs the line between the real world and the fiction on screen. An extremely educational experience that is not only about being a gay black woman, but also a fascinating deconstruction of what it means to have a history and what that means for the black diaspora. Okay, But I'm a Cheerleader from 1999, directed by Jamie Babbitt. An extremely satirical look at the pointlessness of trying to prevent someone from being who they are, and the denial and shame that inherently comes from the oppressors who want to stamp this out of other people, as often it is a part of themselves that they want to stamp out. While the subject matter of the film does sound a bit grim, the film never goes into territory that is really mean-spirited, but rather stays in a fun and campy atmosphere, while still delivering a strong message and a wonderful little love story that makes me cry every time. My next film on the list is 1974's Female Trouble by John Waters. I love John Waters' early filmography, and I think that's because I like just trashy, sleazy films, especially ones that are unapologetically weird, and I think that's something that John Waters pulls off excellently. His early filmography is extremely gross and very weird. This film is no exception, as it delves into dark territory that is not even covered in his most famous work from this period, Pink Flamingos. And it's a wonderful example of queer cinema that can be as sleazy as anything else. Ma Vie en Rose from 1997. A wonderful film that explores the life of a young trans girl who has realised at an early age that she is a girl. However, she must overcome a life of constantly having to stand up for who she is. The film balances this tough subject matter with absolute sensitivity and tactfulness on behalf of the filmmakers, delivering a visually beautiful film that can make you laugh and can make you cry in equal measures. And finally, a film that I think is extremely important for the current climate, Pride from 2014. Just a lovely film, absolutely visually colourful and tonally uplifting and fun. The film tackles a really tough time in both British history as well as LGBTQ+ history, but never feels naive with its uplifting and heartwarming message. This is the definition of a feel-good film that does not talk down to or belittle its audience. It talks frankly about the issues involved, does not shy away from the darker side of this story, but at the end of the day, is actually a really nice, lovely story of one community coming together to help tackle another issue while also fighting for their own identity and wider acceptance in society. So, I'm sorry that I didn't really go into the plots of these films very much. I didn't want to give too much away of the films themselves, just what they mean to me and what I feel about them. If you have any LGBTQ+ movies that you'd like us to discuss or look over, or just any recommendations, please leave a comment in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And stick around because we have 2 videos coming out every month on interesting, different topics. Keep up hope, celebrate who you are, love you all, stay safe.